Get ready! It's coming for ya! All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lech, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Let's party! So, you guys know Bill Maher does his new rules every week. I'm hoping that HBO doesn't claim this, so, you want to hit that super thanks. But he was saying something about trigger warnings themselves, and I thought it was very interesting. So, let's jump in and see what he's got to say.
And finally, new rule, let's put a trigger warning on trigger warnings.
Yep.
A new study from...
Anytime something comes up with a trigger warning, I know I want to see what it is. So whatever the point behind having trigger warnings, all it does is tell me, oh, this is going to be good.
Flinders University analyzed a dozen other studies on trigger warnings, and they all came to the same conclusion. They don't work. Not only don't they protect your feelings, but if you actually have been traumatized by something they're warning you about, a trigger warning makes it worse. It's like if seatbelts were made out of broken glass.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just watching something, and there was a trigger warning for self-deletion. Now, I get it. Why? Maybe you don't want to actually see that scene on TV being played out. But just the mention of it is enough that if that's something that's going to trigger you, makes sense that the warning itself would trigger you.
It winds up just being a reenactment of the old joke.
Exactly.
How do you keep a pussy in suspense? I'll tell you later. Now, for those of you who have been living on an offshore oil rig for the last 10 years and don't know what I'm talking about, a trigger warning is a kind of close your eyes, here comes an ouchie. That, like so many bad ideas in recent years, got started on college campuses. Students started demanding them so they could get ready in case something in a book or a piece of art or a history lesson reminded them that life included bad things and not just good, and sometimes people were mean.
Get ready! It's coming for ya! That's it. Even when you know, like, think about a horror movie. You know when the music goes silent and somebody's creeping around, that a jump scare's coming. The jump scare still gets you. So the warning doesn't really do anything.
You can't have that just sprung on you. Several universities in recent years have even compiled lists of words we should be warned about to get rid of altogether.
Oh, great. Another list of words that we can't use anymore. What else is new?
Including balls to the wall. No can do. You got
no can do? What is wrong with no can do?
Guys, master, white
you guys,
paper.
Of course, you guys, of course, you know that's gendered language. Point of privilege. Don't use gendered language. And then we have master and white paper. You know exactly why people don't want to use those.
Man in the middle, Jip, off the
Man in the middle, Jip, what? Off the reservation? Okay. I see where off the reservation. Native indigenous peoples or whatever you want to call them.
Reservation, peanut gallery.
The peanut gallery.
Virgin? We can't say virgin as opposed to what? Person experiencing not getting laid?
Well, we have to be sensitive to those who are having issues getting laid.
You would think that one would take the cake for the oversensitivity, but the students at Brandeis said, hold my baby bottle.
Oh, there's more. There's more. All right.
They made a list of expressions they don't want to hear because they remind them of violence. Terms like killing it, beating a dead horse, and yes, even trigger warning.
Wait, trigger warning is now a word or a phrase that needs a trigger warning. Do I need to explain the irony?
I guess they don't teach irony
in
college anymore. Anyway, at some point, the trigger warning escaped from campus and got out into the real world, and now they're everywhere.
Just like crazy liberal millennials.
Warnings at the top of Reddit threads and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram posts. Warnings before your favorite serial killer series, before news articles. Disney put an advisory on the movie Dumbo.
I saw Dumbo when I was like 3. No warning, and I'm fine.
Warning viewers about stereotypes, because otherwise you might think it was a documentary about flying elephants. Turner Classic Movies still wants to show you classic movies, but before we do, first there are a few parts we'd like you to feel really bad about. Now enjoy the show. Theaters do it now, too. The storied Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis tipped off their crowd that a play included simulated gunshots, strobe lights, and haze.
First of all, what is haze? Second of all, that sounds like every action movie ever.
Haze.
Yeah, what is that?
You've been groped by a thick fog. A theater in Brooklyn alerted the audience to expect moments of darkness and violence, and this was for Oklahoma. My senior class in high school put on Oklahoma, and I thought it was corny and provincial then. I cannot...
That's the only context I've ever heard of Oklahoma, is high school theater.
I cannot imagine the fragility of someone who needs to be warned about it. How do these people get to the airport, let alone through childhood?
They don't. They lock themselves in their homes and they scroll through TikTok. They say that Oklahoma needs a trigger warning.
London's Globe Theatre felt the need to tell the audience that its production of Romeo and Juliet includes suicide. Okay, but Romeo and Juliet has been in your Netflix queue since 1596.
Where's the spoiler alert? Where's the spoiler alert on that one? That's the whole thing. That's the whole story.
You've had 400 years to prepare. And also, it does kind of give away the ending.
Exactly.
I don't understand how a society that's so in love with spoiler alerts can also be into trigger warnings.
That's what I was saying. It was you. That's what I was watching. And I'm not going to spoil it for y'all. But they used a trigger warning that was a little bit of a spoiler. And I'm like, okay, well, now that you told me what happened, I'm not as excited to watch anymore.
Tell me what's going to happen, but don't tell me. And again, all the research shows that these trigger warnings don't even work. What they do is reinforce the idea that trauma is central to your identity.
I don't know why he's saying trauma, like it's a fish or something. But yes, he is talking about trauma.
And that you should let it define you instead of dealing with it, dispatching it. And
that's the leftist mentality, right? Your trauma or your trauma is what defines you. Your trauma is your identity. And if you don't live baked in the fear that something like whatever happened to you can happen again, then you're an evil person. You're a bad person. Without that trauma, you are nothing. I don't understand how these people live.
Moving beyond it. People wonder why the younger generations have so much anxiety. It's this stuff.
Exactly.
Lots of stuff makes us uncomfortable. You know what makes me uncomfortable? This bullshit. People who start every conversation with, as a person who, as a survivor of, I'm triggered every time I see a trigger warning.
Yup.
Because I'm reminded of how weak my country has become. It's like wearing a mask on your mind.
And you know what they say, weak men lead to bad times. So definitely go check out the rest of Bill Maher's Real Time and New Rules and all that good stuff. But I was just curious, what do you guys think about his idea on trigger warnings? You know, Bill Maher has been on this kick for a long time of having Trump Derangement Syndrome, but he seemed to have been coming out of it lately. He seems to be coming back down to earth. And I don't know if I am ready to trust him yet, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for partying with me. Once again, I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.